Hello and welcome to day 74 of the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan with Joseph and Anu. Today we are in Judges chapters 10, 11 and 12. We are still in the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition for this week.
Chapter 10. After Abimelech, Tola, son of Puah, son of Dodo, a man of Issachar, who lived at Shamir in the hill country of Ephraim, rose to deliver Israel. He judged Israel 23 years. Then he died and was buried at Shamir.
After him came Jair the Gileadite, who judged Israel 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys, and they had 30 towns, which are in the land of Gilead, and are called Avoth Jair to this day. Jair died and was buried in Kamon.
The Israelites again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, serving the Baals and the Astartes, the gods of Aram, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of Ammonites, and the gods of Philistines. Thus they abandoned the Lord and did not worship him. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Philistines and into the hands of the Ammonites, and they crushed and oppressed the Israelites that year. For 18 years they oppressed all the Israelites who were beyond the Jordan in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. The Ammonites also crossed the Jordan to fight against Judah and against Benjamin and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was greatly distressed.
So the Israelites cried to the Lord, saying, "We have sinned against you, because we have abandoned our God and have served the Baals." And the Lord said to the Israelites, "Did I not deliver you from the Egyptians and from the Amorites, from the Ammonites and from the Philistines? The Sidonians also, and the Amalekites and the Moabites oppressed you, and you cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet you have abandoned me and served other gods. Therefore I will deliver you no more. Go and cry to the gods whom you have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your distress." And the Israelites said to the Lord, "We have sinned. Do to us whatever seems good to you, but deliver us this day." So they put away the foreign gods from among them and served the Lord, and he could no longer bear to see Israel suffer.
Then the Ammonites were called to arms, and they encamped in Gilead, and the Israelites came together, and they encamped at Mizpah. The commanders of the people of Gilead said to one another, "Who will begin to fight against the Ammonites? He shall be head over all the inhabitants of Gilead."
Chapter 11. Now Jephthah the Gileadite, the son of a prostitute, was a mighty warrior. Gilead was the father of Jephthah. Gilead's wife also bore him sons. And when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah away, saying to him, "You shall not inherit anything in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." Then Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Outlaws gathered around Jephthah and went raiding with him.
After a time, the Ammonites made war against Israel. And when the Ammonites made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah from the land of Tob. They said to Jephthah, "Come and be our commander, so that we may fight with the Ammonites." But Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Are you not the very one who rejected me and drove me out of my father's house? So why do you come to me now when you're in trouble?" The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Nevertheless, we have now turned back to you, so that you may go with us and fight with the Ammonites and become head over us, over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you bring me home again to fight with the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them over to me, I will be your head." And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "The Lord will be witness between us. We will surely do as you say." So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord at Mizpah.
Then Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the Ammonites and said, "What is there between you and me, that you have come to fight against my land?" The king of the Ammonites answered the messengers of Jephthah, "Because Israel, on coming from Egypt, took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok and to the Jordan. Now therefore restore it peaceably." Once again Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the Ammonites and said to him, "Thus says Jephthah, Israel did not take away the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites. But when they came up from Egypt, Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. Israel then sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, "Let us pass through your land." But the king of Edom would not listen. They also sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. So Israel remained at Kadesh. Then they journeyed through the wilderness, went around the land of Edom and the land of Moab, arrived on the east side of the land of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was the boundary of Moab. Israel then sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites, king of Heshbon, and Israel said to him, "Let us pass through your land to our country." But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. So Sihon gathered all his people together and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. So Israel occupied all the land of the Amorites, who inhabited that country. They occupied all the territory of the Amorites, from the Arnon to the Jabbok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan. So now the Lord, the God of Israel, has conquered the Amorites for the benefit of his people, Israel. Do you intend to take their place? Should you not possess what your God Chemosh gives you to possess? And should we not be the ones to possess everything that the Lord our God has conquered for our benefit? Now are you any better than King Balak, son of Zippor of Moab? Did he ever enter into conflict with Israel, or did he ever go to war with them? While Israel lived in Heshbon and its villages, and in Aroah and its villages, and in all the towns that are along the Arnon, 300 years. Why did you not recover them within that time? It is not I who have sinned against you, but you are the one who does me wrong by making war on me. Let the Lord, who is judge, decide today for the Israelites or for the Ammonites. But the king of the Ammonites did not heed the message that Jephthah sent him.
Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh. And he passed on to Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed on to the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord and said, "If you will give the Ammonites into my hand, then whatever comes out from the doors of my house to meet me, when I return victorious from the Ammonites, shall be the Lord's, to be offered up by me as a burnt sacrifice." So Jephthah crossed over to the as a burnt offering. So Jephthah crossed over to the Ammonites to fight against them, and the Lord gave them into his hand. He inflicted a massive defeat on them, from Aroer to the neighborhood of Minnith, 20 towns, as far as Bel-Keramin. So the Ammonites were subdued before the Israelites.
Then Jephthah came to his home at Mizpah, and there was his daughter coming out to meet him with timbrels and with dancing. She was his only child, and he had no son or daughter except her. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, "Alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. You have become the cause of great trouble to me. For I have opened my mouth to the Lord, and I cannot take back my vow." She said to him, "My father, if you have opened your mouth to the Lord, do to me according to what has gone out of your mouth. Now that the Lord has given you vengeance against your enemies, the Ammonites." And she said to her father, "Let this thing be done for me. Grant me 2 months so that I may go and wander on the mountains and bewail my virginity, my companions and I." "Go," he said. And he sent her away for 2 months. So she departed, she and her companions, and bewailed her virginity on the mountains. At the end of 2 months, she returned to her father, who did with her according to the vow he had made. She had never slept with a man. So there arose an Israelite custom that for 4 days every year the daughters of Israel would go out to lament the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite.
Chapter 12. The men of Gilead were called to arms, and they crossed to Zaphon and said to Jephthah, "Why did you cross over to fight against the Ammonites and did not call us to go with you? We'll burn your house down over you." Jephthah said to them, "My people and I were engaged in conflict with the Ammonites who oppressed us severely. But when I called you, you did not deliver me from their hand. When I saw that you would not deliver me, I took my life in my hand and crossed over against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into my hand. Why then have you come to me this day to fight against me?" Then Jephthah gathered all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim. And the men of Gilead defeated Ephraim, because they said, "You are fugitives from Ephraim, you Gileadites, in the hearts of Ephraim and Manasseh." Then the Gileadites took the fords of the Jordan against the Ephraimites. Whenever one of the fugitives of Ephraim said, "Let me go over," the men of Gilead would say to him, "Are you an Ephraimite?" When he said, "No," they said to him, "Say Shibboleth." And he said Sibboleth, for he could not pronounce it right. Then they seized him and killed him at the fords of the Jordan. 42,000 of the Ephraimites fell at that time.
Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in his town in Gilead.
After him, Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel. He had 30 sons. He gave his 30 daughters in marriage outside his clan and brought in 30 young women from outside for his sons. He judged Israel 7 years, and Ibzan died and was buried at Bethlehem.
After him, Elon the Zebulonite judged Israel, and he judged Israel 10 years. Then Elon the Zebulonite died and was buried at Aijalon in the land of Zebulun.
After him, Abdon son of Hillel the Parathonite judged Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons, who rode on 70 donkeys. He judged Israel 8 years. Then Abdon son of Hillel the Parathonite died and was buried at Pirathon in the land of Ephraim, in the hill country of the Amalekites. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. By way of quick summary, today we read 3 chapters. In chapter 10, quite shorter of the 3 chapters, we saw the story of the tenures of Tola and Jer, who both judged Israel in times of relative peace. And then we began to read about the oppression of the Ammonites in that chapter. By the time we got to chapter 11, Jephthah arose as a key figure in that chapter to be the next judge to deliver the people from the Ammonites. And he made a vow about that before going to that battle, that whatever comes to him first when he returns home victorious, he would sacrifice as a burnt offering unto the Lord. And his daughter happened to be the one that came out first. In chapter 12, we saw an intertribal conflict between the men of Ephraim and the other tribes led by Jephthah, and that led to a terrible battle. We would recall that the Ephraimites were part of those on the east of the Jordan, while all the other tribes were on the west of the Jordan, and this led to some intertribal war between them, and lots of them were killed. And then Jephthah died. In the latter part of that chapter, we saw the short account of the judgeship of Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. And that's the 3 chapters that we read. Back to chapter 10. Did anything stand out to you, Anu?
Yes, when I read about Tola, son of Pua, I remember the message you preached about Tola. I don't know if you were at uni then. Was it uni or Gombe?
The first time I actually ever preached it was at uni, but I think you must have heard it because we didn't go to the same uni. So yeah, at NCCF in Gombe State.
I was so aghast at the brevity of this Tola's person's life. And now nothing was recorded about him. And when I was listening to the message, I'm thinking to myself, but it's not his fault. This is the reporter's fault. It's not him. At least he judged for 23 years. Why didn't they report anything about him?
I didn't have anything against him. The idea behind the message, and by the way, the message was titled Tola Words Bookie. Now, Tola, of course, in this case is an Hebrew, but in the Yoruba sense of the word, there is a name called Tola. And there is still going to be another name called Bookie that we're going to get into, I think, in Chronicles. And for the common denominator for both of them is that they just lived and died, and that was all we know in the scripture. Nothing much was said of them, and so I was using that title of Tola Words Bookie to portray what happens when 2 people that are yet to discover their purpose get married. They just get married, lived, probably have children, and died, and that's it. No vision accomplished. But of course, that's just me reading so much more to the story that is needed just to make a point. Yeah. For me, what stood out in chapter 10, again, apart from the seeming meaninglessness of, the 10 years of Tola and Jia. We're told about Jia. He had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys and had 30 towns, and that's it. And he died and was buried. I mean, it just sounds very, very pointless. But that's probably because they ruled in times of relative peace. There was not that much of, going to fight a particular battle and things like that. But in chapter 10, verse 16, this was, of course, after the Israelites had now gone back to their apostasy more aggressively this time, because they literally worshipped all the possible gods they could find. They served the Baals, the Astartes, the gods of Aram, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the Ammonites, the gods of the Philistines. They prostituted themselves with all of these gods and goddesses. And they cried out to the Lord eventually. And first of all, God taunted them and said, go and meet the gods you are worshipping to save you. But obviously, their repentance was genuine. And I love verse 16 when it says, it got to a point when God could no longer bear to see Israel suffer. And that just speaks to the very heart and nature of God. It's the kind of God that will not leave us in our suffering. He looks to us, he has compassion on us. And of course, that compassion will ultimately find expression in him becoming one of us to die for our very own sins, so that divine exchange can happen. It takes our place and we take his place, and we get to enjoy the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. But yeah, we serve a God who will not bear to see us suffer unnecessarily. He longs to be our ever-present help in times of trouble, and we should never forget that.
That's true.
Chapter 11, anything stand out to you in the story of Jephthah?
Just a curious fact. I wonder why they called him a son of a prostitute and then said he's a mighty warrior. We don't know. No account was given about this prostitution, is there?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's a story of someone that was rejected and then became celebrated. Pretty much like Jesus. The rejected stone, Bible says, became the chief cornerstone. Is the summary of his story. But what stood out to me, the vow and the rash vow that he made.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Why though? Who do you think will come out of your door to come and greet your donkey? It will be a human being. That's why. Sorry, I cut in.
Yeah,
that's why they said in the Bible that don't be hasty to make a vow, because you're making it to God and not to man. For real, Kola. So, for example, you went to fight against Russia, and you say the first person that comes out of your door is what you would. Yeah, because Russia is the enemy. That the first person that comes out of the door would be you give us burnt offering.
Yeah.
What do you think will come out? It's either me, Joshua, or Samuel. At least the puppy that we don't have yet won't come out. So. When he said that word, the first person that would come out and give him as burnt offering, it's quite interesting in that the burnt offering that was prescribed by God himself, never once did he say use a human being as burnt offering. It didn't say I will use the choicest of my animal or the one I've been breeding so I can eat at Christmas. The first thing that whatever walks out of my door will be I felt it gave me a shiver. Let's go on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, on the one hand, it's a rash vow, no doubt about that. But on the other hand is the fact that, of course, we don't even know what exactly then happens. It's easy to read that and just think, of course, what that means is that he sacrificed his daughter literally as a burnt offering, despite the fact that God's law specifically prohibited human sacrifice. That's not one thing that God himself would ask for, because it's a practice that he frowns upon that is going on in all the other nations around them. So there are two schools of thought here. One is that, yes, she was literally sacrificed. But there are other commentators that believed that, just reading into, the focus of her lament, which was about her virginity, is that becoming a burnt sacrifice in that instance meant she remained a virgin for the rest of her life, that she was not literally sacrificed.
So why were people crying for her every 4 years, every 4 days of every year if she didn't die?
Because she didn't get to know a man.
She's the only person that didn't get to know a man. Is it not more probable that she actually died if they're mourning her every year for 4 days? How can you be alive and you're being mourned? Imagine that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just taking the response of the daughter herself when she was told of her fate. She responded with a surprising calm and specifically asked for, some time to weep because of her virginity. Specifically, like, what's that got to do with anything? Except if it is central indeed to the narrative.
I actually like her. She's very strategic. Yeah, don't kill me yet. Or don't do it with me yet. Let me enjoy my life.
Indeed.
And then she went with her maidens. Who wants to go and cry in the kidney and she's taking servants?
Yeah.
Why not go there yourself with your own pillow? Anyway, sorry.
And at the end of those 2 months, what we read is simply that Jephthah carried out his vow, and she remained a virgin, or she had no relations with a man. It did not in any place in that passage say he killed her. That was not mentioned. So it's very possible that, the vow gets the playing out of the fulfillment of the vow can just simply be that, marriage is no longer an option. Childbearing is no longer an option. And that would mean that that's the end of Jephthah's family line, because he had no son and no other daughter. And that's just the end of his lineage, simply, in that sense. But yeah.
It brings to mind again the necessity of the vow. It's just one daughter, just one wife. Who was he expecting? His maid servant.
We never can tell. I mean, it's clear that he had a dubious background from the kind of people that we were told he attracted. Outlaws gathered around Jephthah and went raiding with him. So he must have picked up all sorts of things from all these various nations that he had engaged with. It's striking, though, that he had a good, in some sense, he's well informed in the history of the people. And when he was going to start his back and forth with the king of the Ammonites, he was, given some solid history that is quite true to a very good extent. But yeah, it's just, I think it's a message against don't speak rashly. Of course, Jesus would come and even say, don't make a vow at all. Let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Anything outside of this is from the evil one. So let's just keep it simple and be people that honor our words, as simple as that is. Yeah. In chapter 12, what stood out to me is, of course, naturally brings back to mind what we have, the fault lines we have highlighted before about the Ephraimites, the Manassites, and half tribe of Manasseh, Reuben and Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh on the one side of the Jordan, while the others are on the other side of the Jordan. Now we're beginning to see that they've become, in some sense, the identity, the cohesiveness of the nation has broken down amongst them to the point where they had to start fighting each other. And it's just interesting that, they've developed even different dialects to the point where some people can say shh, while some people can't. And so the password becomes Shibboleth versus Sibboleth. So say Shibboleth. If you can't say Shibboleth and you're calling Shibboleth Sibboleth, they know you're from this other side of the Jordan, and you're doomed to die. But yeah, it's quite an unfortunate dissension that we see in that sense, that came simply because some people thought, let's have our own inheritance away from the rest of our people in that sense. But yeah, there's nothing like unity and being together.
Yeah, and it's crazy how that as a group, one part of a group went to fight out the outsiders to stop oppressing them. Then another part of the same group is fighting the person who went to fight.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's whether they called you to go and fight with them or not, you are safe. Your armies are safe. Why are you fighting against someone that's brought victory home, that affects you?
Yeah, that's
And then they started to kill themselves.
yeah. Yeah.
It is wild.
That's the confirmation we need to show that actually now they are not seeing themselves as being together,
As one, yeah.
but rather as fractured pieces, and that's those cracks will continue to exacerbate as we go on in the story. And finally, of course, again, another 3 sets of judges that did more or less nothing. One of them, all he did was he had 30 daughters, he had 30 sons, and gave his 30 daughters in marriage, and brought in 30 young women for his sons, and that was it. And he judged Israel for 7 years. So every year there must be, I don't know how many weddings going on in the palace, as it were. And then, of course, there was this other one that had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys. Like, that's all we know about them. That's, they will come together on their donkeys and they'll say, "Gagan, the king's people have come." I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But again, who knows? They are called minor judges exactly for this purpose, that we don't know much about their tenure. The usual understanding or interpretation of that is just to say maybe they judged at a time of relative peace rather than at a time of war. But we'll turn the page and move on to another interesting character that we're going to see as we go on in this book of Judges. But till then, just remember,
you're not alone
today.
God bless you.